Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Today I wanted to talk about the new flight model in 3.6.0 L PTU. So there are some major changes and additions with hover mode and acceleration control, but I also want to talk about the flight model as a whole, it coming together. Does it feel good? Does it feel bad? Has it got potential? Yes, it has. Too long, didn't read. It certainly has potential, but it is unfinished. So I want to talk about that sort of jazz today, and please stay with me for this magical adventure tour. Look at VoIP though. So with the new flight model, there are a load of changes in 3.6, and it's the PTU, so they're going to be tweaking it more. But I sort of wanted to talk about some of the improvements for the flight model, some of the changes here, some of what it can do at the moment, because it is quite a big change, or at least there's the ability to do a lot more with it now. So we've got the hover and VTOL additions. We can see that my ship's thrusters are pointing downwards. Doesn't matter if I'm in a huge ship, a medium ship, or whatever. My ship's thrusters, if they can turn downwards when I'm in VTOL mode, will turn downwards. If I go above a certain speed, that's point downwards, like a helicopter, I'll gain some speed. My thrusters will point forward. I'll go back into the traditional flight model. Closer around to the surface, the slower my maximum speed will be as well. I'll velocity control up. And we'll go back into the traditional flight model. But it can be a bit more dangerous to fly now in atmosphere. Your ships are a bit weightier. They're not great at turning left and right compared to what they would be in space. But once I go below a certain speed, my VTOL thrusters will come back on and point downwards. And basically just have me hovering here. So a lot of this comes from velocity control. Press C, so I go off my cruise control. Velocity control, cruise control, and now power throttle for thrusters. So we had this on the left before. This is the velocity control. We've got the little red line here. This is your safe SCM speed. We've got the green line here, signifying what I have set my velocity control to. And that is effectively my max speed. What max speed can I go to? If I go, and you can see the green bar here, trying to build towards it when I press W. If I press C, that goes to cruise control, and it tries to maintain whatever I've set that little green line to. And if I go down to the red line, that's safe SCM speed. And beyond safe SCM speed, you will lose a reasonable amount of precision and control of your ship. Thrusters might overheat a lot quicker, especially in atmosphere, and you're not going to be as agile. I'm going to press C again to toggle off that little green arrow, so then it'll go back down to not moving forward. Now, the really big new addition, in addition to VTOL and hover in general, is that of acceleration control. Basically, this, more specifically, I suppose, is the throttling of power to the thrusters. And that's this gauge on the right now. This is no longer fuel. Fuel is a static thing here. But we've got this power throttle. If I press right Alt and then mouse wheel, I can affect this. Now, this is an interesting one because this gives me the sort of like much more precision in the amount of power I put to my thrust. And I can have this when I'm flying around in combat, in space, or on hover mode, or when I'm flying around atmosphere, whatever. But if I set this below a certain threshold, my thrusters are not going to be able to keep my ship up in the air. So if I set this down to 0, you will actually see my ship start to fall. Actually see it now, coming closer to the ground. You can see there's a little bit of drift going on there as well, but that's because I've pointed my ship slightly towards the ground. Yeah, I'm just drifting more and more downwards. The throttle's unable to keep me up in the air, but if I hold right alt again and mouse wheel it all the way up to 100%, it will level me out. And we've also got space brake, which when in VTOL mode will sort of like try and level you out. But some of the things are that if you don't have this perfectly center, then you're going to be drifting, you're going to be doing circles and weird turns and stuff. Hover mode at the moment is not ideal. It needs a lot more quality of life and tweaks. But with the use of that velocity control and thruster sort of like power throttle, you can have some really, really, really great precision and control of your ship now, much more than you would ever have had before. I wish that you could save some of these. So, like, maybe I want to set up some particular settings for being in atmosphere on certain planets, or for a particular type of landing. I'll be like, well, this is my landing pad setting, so it sets my velocity control to, I don't know, 50% of my SCM speed, and my thruster to 45% power throttle. If I could save that as a setting, that would be absolutely superb. But just the ability to do that just gives keyboard users the same sort of precision when it comes to movement and thrust that a joystick or HOTAS user gets. And that's something that really sort of like levels the playing field when it comes to people being better pilots effectively, I suppose, with HOTAS and dual stick a lot of the time, or at least one of the major factors there. There's a lot more precision when it comes to aiming with a mouse and keyboard. Again, we've got the auto gimbals, which sort of level the playing field with that when you're using a HOTAS, so that you can concentrate more on flying rather than aiming. So there's a lot of sort of stuff going into the game at the moment to try and make any control setup viable. It's going to take a lot of balance, and at the moment, the sort of like thrust. Let me put my landing gear down. So landing gear will actually create drag in atmosphere as well now. I'm just going to drift down. At 0%, you just basically lose thruster control entirely, I suppose. That's because you've got no power to them. That would make sense, and you're probably just sort of like using just lift. Slowly hover down. Now, there needs to be a load of tweaks to the atmospheric flight, to the new flight model, to these precision controls, acceleration and velocity control. But it is going in the right direction, I think. The new flight model has a lot of potential, and it's what we're probably going to be stuck with. So they need to get it right. One of the other major things I probably want to mention, actually, is that if you want to thrust down or do anything with your thrusters, you do need to set your sort of velocity control to something. You can't have it on 0 and then run, press control or space. That's not going to give you, that's not going to allow you to strafe up and strafe down. But if I set it to sort of like SCM speed, which is actually what I recommend for maneuvers typically, then you can hold control and it'll go down, it can hold space and it'll go up. It'll actually give your thrusters some power. So, although power throttle is important, the one on the right, so is velocity control. And getting used to both of them and tweaking them is very, very useful. So if I now set my power throttle a little bit down, I will thrust when I hold a control or space up and down, but just at a slower rate, effectively. And it's interesting. It's just, it allows for just a load of cool stuff. And once it gets tweaked, once it gets used a bit more effectively, once it's fixed and balanced for the ships, then I suspect it'll be pretty damn useful. Let's actually land here. Is my landing gear down? Let's assume it is. Yeah, we can take the third person and see it. Oh, 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 oh. Perfect landing. Use those rocks to like hold us there. But you can see that sort of like I wasn't really moving or pressing anything, and it was just I'm just sliding backwards. Held X. I thought I was reasonably well aligned, but it's deciding that it wants to pull me backwards. So there are some problems with it at the moment. Sort of like bear that in mind. It's an alpha, and this is the PTU of that alpha, and they're refining these systems. But there's so much potential and possibility with this new flight system and flight model, and we're probably not going to get anything else. As in, we're not going to get another rework. This is the flight system we're stuck with. But it's probably quite a good system to build on. Put my landing gear away, because they do cause drag. But yeah, so that's sort of like roughly some of those additional flight changes and modifications they made to the flight model, and it's by no means finished yet. They are planning to add a toggle for the VTOL mode. It should, I assume, still automatically come on when you go below a certain speed, and your ship literally can't be can't be held up in the air unless you have the VTOL on. But it is effectively now just decoupled from landing gear, so I can have my landing gear out and be flying around with VTOL mode on or off. But having a toggle for that as well would be useful, I suppose. They're going to keep on refining stuff like that. And there's obviously the new HUD with the Gladius as well, and that's going to allow for some cool stuff to be shown and exposed. They're trying to refine those HUDs and all that sort of stuff. So this is the old HUD here. Also wanted to show off the new HUD on the Gladius at the same time. Now, this HUD, I believe, after being a little bit more refined, will be going out to all the other ships or some other ships or whatever, or bits of it will be used. Now, at a glance, it tells me loads of stuff. It tells me my normal fuel, my base boost fuel, basically. It tells me my quantum fuel percentage at the bottom right there. It tells me what Gs I'm going at. It tells me if my landing gear's up or down. Put it down, a little pit will appear there in gear. Just here. I press N again, pull up my gear and it'll tell me. I press R, it will cycle through those gimbaled modes there. And rather than having the power throttle on the right this time, it's on the far left, further left than the actual velocity control. So I can see the thrust there with, when I hold right Alt and mouse wheel, you can see it going up and down there. And with the velocity control there again, just up and down, just with the mouse wheel normally. Also, it's sort of like set the SEM at a different level, so it's like more in the center, giving you a little bit more precision, as it were, in SCM mode, I suppose, or at least being able to visualize that a bit better. So, is the new flight model any good? Well, I really like it. At least I like it on paper. I like its potential. It's got a lot of streamlined, lightweight features, as it were, so including with like misfires and stuff there. You can see that engine there overheating or misfiring. It's got a lot of stuff that's starting to come together for it with power and thrusters and hover mode and VTOL and just the way that the flight model acts. I actually much prefer than what we've had after 3.0. Like, I really like 2.6.3 for combat and for the flight model. But I think it's because it was simple and worked. At the moment, combat is not ideal. Like, the flight model could be the best in the world, but if the ships are still jittering and the weapons aren't balanced and pips and things don't aim properly and don't fire properly, it's sort of like irrelevant. We can't do a core part of the game. You can't do combat, or it can't do it effectively, or it's not enjoyable. Then, I mean, might not be the flight model's fault, but it's going to affect the game massively. It's not going to be great. So, at the moment, combat in general just needs to be fixed. And that's a problem with the AI, with the servers, and with combat itself. So, these are things that they are going to be addressing, and some of that stuff will be addressed in 3.6. Hopefully, that will be a solid patch where AI is effective, and or at least gives us some form of challenge, actually tries to fight us, doesn't go AFK, doesn't jitter around everywhere. The ship jitter is obviously horrible. That's not the flight model's fault again. But the flight model on paper, it's got a load of moving parts. It's a lot more simple than we previously had when it comes to simulation of stuff. So I really like the idea of it. When it comes to atmospheric flight with it, it's just worlds better, in my opinion. Having the VTOL mode and hover mode, yeah, great. But having your ships feel heavy, that's what I wanted in atmosphere. But worrying about getting hit in atmosphere, because if I get my engines or thrusters damaged, I might crash. I think that's fantastic. And I don't want it to feel like spaceflight while I'm in atmosphere. I don't care how powerful my thrusters are or how far we are in the future. Gameplay needs to trump, super future technology. It's fantasy. Science fantasy. Science fiction, if you will. But anyway, please tell me what you think. This was sort of like a ramble talking about some of the new flight model aspects and what I think about it at the moment. And I think on paper, and I think it's got potential, and I think on paper it's a great idea and a great system. It needs to be great, though. It needs to be genuinely fantastic and support what they have as their vision for Squadron 42 and Star Citizen, because we're probably not going to get another one. This was almost certainly their final rework of the major rework of it, but it will get tweaked, balanced, I suppose this is also worth talking about. Something that's different from what we had a long while ago with fuel now is that your hydrogen fuel will just drop. As you can see, it's at 84% there. It's used quicker if I boost. If I use my afterburner, which gives me an acceleration boost now. So that's literally just an acceleration boost, and there's no other forms of afterburner beyond that. It's very useful, but hydrogen fuel will just drop from you flying around, and you'll need to go to places like, you know, landing zones and rest stops to get your fuel back. So bear that in mind. You will have fuel intakes that will take in the hydrogen fuel you need, but sometimes you'll be expending it quicker than you can take it in. It's going to be based on your ship and where you are and that sort of stuff. Obviously, there's quantum fuel aside from that as well. But if you run out of hydrogen fuel, you're not going to be doing much. You're not going to be able to power your thrusters effectively. However, there may be batteries and that sort of stuff that will give you a limited amount of thrust or whatever in the future. They're still messing around with some of that stuff and deciding exactly what they want to do with it. But they have talked about batteries and that sort of things before. But sort of remember that fuel is important in the game, and the Starfarer will be able to get some of these fuel types and sell it. But it's not just, I have infinite fuel, I can fly around. You still need your conventional fuel now. See that I've landed here. And then go to vehicle maintenance, and I'll need to restock my hydrogen fuel, my quantum fuel, and all that sort of stuff as well. But it's something that you didn't really need to restock your hydrogen fuel before, really. But you sort of like do now. And once you're actually repairing, it does stuff in order. So if you're rearming, refueling, repairing, it'll go through each of the things that you've asked it to do. It takes a few seconds to do that. That's just like, bear that in mind. Now I've got 100% quantum fuel, 100% hydrogen fuel. But sort of bear that in mind. Don't be caught short. But anyway, tell me what you think. Do you love the new flight model? Do you hate it? Do you wish we'd go back to earlier times with it? Do you think it's got a load of potential? Do you think it's horrible? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you.
Every month we have a ship giveaway. July is no different. We have an 890 Jump to giveaway, donated by My Radar, who make a free weather app available for iOS, Android, and other mobile devices besides. They also have the Moons of Crusader and their services displayed in their app for Star Citizen, which is mega cool. And they are adding even more moons. Coming soon as well are the planets of Hurston and ArcCorp. Check out that app in the links below. I am still shilling for Shadow and NordVPN. So Shadow, that allows you to have a high-spec gaming and Windows 10 environment subscription service streamed to any device, old PC, laptop, phone, that sort of stuff. It's great for Star Citizen and any other modern game, and for people that want a Windows 10 sort of environment on the go. They do keep on updating their software and their hardware, so you don't have to worry about that. Also, I use NordVPN, which is a really useful VPN for security, privacy, or accessing websites more easily. It also has a lot of advantages over free VPN services, and it is still mega cheap. Use the code BoredGamer for Shadow or NordVPN to get a discount. Thank you for your continued support and love, especially from Robert Johnston, Huntress, Dalamars, Vamprist, Gear Khan, Cat Astrus Mega, Andy Green, Mill, and Snarky. You guys and girls are not just the best, but you're also my executive producers for the month of July, and you've gone beyond all possible sense financially in supporting the channel, so genuinely thank you very much. It is amazingly appreciated. If you do have any questions or ideas for content, organizations you want me to check out, or just want me to say hi to you, or you want to say hi, leave a comment below and I will try and read it and get back to you. Also, feel free to check out my Discord and my Reddit and my Facebook page and my Instagrams. I know lots of stuff down below if you're interested in any of that. But whatever, take care, guys, and I'll see you in the verse.